What's going on, Summoners? I'm Kangas, and today I'm discussing some massive changes coming to the Wild Rift. Patch 2.2 is not only bringing new items, champion balances, and an entire new server, but also debuting role selection, a new champion, and a whole new game mode. Before we begin, our question of the day is, which of the new announced champions are you guys most excited about? I've always been a huge Galio fan, so I'm hyped for him, but let me know your answers in the comments below. Now let's continue with our patch overview. First and foremost, Galio will be released April 1st. As an AP tank, Galio has the ability to cast his ultimate on a remote ally and teleport to them, knocking up all surrounding enemy units. As the third official teleporting champion in the game, Galio is sure to provide alternatives to the current mid lane meta, opening up huge opportunities for roams and team plays around the map. Be on the lookout for this new champion, as he's sure to bring some much needed pick diversity in the mid lane. This time around, there weren't actually any champion buffs, so we'll start off with a nerf list and then move on to the champion adjustments. First up, we have Alistar. He's been at the top of our tier list for some time now, standing very comfortably as an overpowered pick. Riot seems to have caught wind of this and have nerfed his base health stats from 650 to 610. In addition, Pulverize's knockup radius is decreased from 300 to 275. The ability's damage was also nerfed as well. Since Alistar's strongest asset was his incredibly long and consistent engage potential, this nerf hit him right where it hurts. We suspect he'll stay as a strong pick, but patch 2.2 will definitely bump him down a peg or two. Amumu is next on the list of nerfs, as Riot stated that he's overpowering on Wild Rift, but we believe that the changes are a little preemptive. Amumu's base armor is going down from 40 to 35, and his health regeneration per level is going down by 10. This means that his early game skirmish potential drops significantly, giving him an even bigger exploitable weakness. Also, his clear will be a little less healthy since armor against camps is very strong. In addition, his second ability's AP ratio was decreased from 1% per 100 AP to 0.75% per 100 AP. This decrease in scaling subtracts damage per second from his kit. And to top it out, the cooldown on his ultimate Curse of the Sad Mummy was also increased. Another jungler seen a nerf this patch is Dr. Mundo. According to Riot, his tankiness and survivability have been a little insane, taking over the game with the usage of his consistent damage and cleavers. But we believe this nerf was also a little preemptive, to make way for the tank item changes coming soon. Infected Cleaver's max damage versus monsters is being decreased at the early levels. This should decrease his clear times, slowing down the speed at which he scales into the game. His third ability, Masochism, also had its cooldown increased. For AD carries, Jhin got slightly nerfed, with Captive Audience now dealing 65% damage to non-champions. He simply had too much priority in lane thanks to the strong wave clear potential. And if you guys watch our high elo tier list, it should be no surprise to you that Orianna has been overpowered for quite some time now. Her kit deals massive damage and provides way too much utility to be considered balanced. To deal with this issue, Riot has nerfed her base stats and two of her core abilities. First up, her health has gone down from 570 to 530. This 40 health decrease should leave her much more vulnerable to dying in the early game. Command Attack was also nerfed substantially, increasing cooldowns and nerfing her AP ratio and base damage. Command Attack's base numbers were also decreased for every level. These nerfs decrease survivability overall in the mid lane, since damage is an essential aspect for every mid lane champion. And to round out the nerfs, we got a slight one for Teemo, since he's only been overperforming at the lower ranks. Guerrilla Warfare's camouflage channel time increased from 0.8 seconds to a full 1 second. This increases the window of opportunity to catch Teemo before he goes invisible. And next up, we have champion adjustments. Corki has been running into some problems in regards to his passive lately. Hextech Munition will no longer convert Physical Vamp into Magic Vamp, but will instead behave as normal. This should clear up some complications in building and playing the Yordle. The biggest champion adjustment, though, is to Pantheon. As one of the newer champions on Wild Rift, it's understandable that much of his kit is being reimagined for patch 2.2. These changes alter his playstyle slightly to better fit the Wild Rift, but are nothing groundbreaking. Comet Spear no longer slows when enhanced by his passive, slightly affecting his effective crowd control. Shield Vault also now correctly resets attacks, which cannot be interrupted. This specific change is more of a bug fix. Aegis Assault no longer blocks turret damage, and when enhanced by his passive, no longer has an extended duration. That one's a pretty big nerf, but to compensate, he gains 60% movement speed for 1.5 seconds when utilizing his empowered shield. This should allow him to still play very aggressively with Aegis Assault while not providing anything completely broken. Pantheon also throws a spear during his ultimate, landing before him and now slowing for 50% for 2 seconds. This deals Comet's damage over a small area. Basically, the Wild Rift release Pantheon was very similar to the slightly older version of Pantheon we saw in the PC version before these changes took effect there. And those are all the champion updates for patch 2.2, leading us into the item changes. And there's a lot to unpack here. To start this section off, we're discussing 3 new items headed into Wild Rift. Force of Nature will be replacing Adaptive Helm as the go-to magic resist item. This item provides a passive that grants bonus movement speed and magic resist when taking AP damage, stacking up to 5 times. The bonus caps at 30 movement speed and 30 magic resist, with each unique ability granting 1 stack. Unlike Adaptive Helm, this item's effect should be far more apparent, allowing for a larger incentive to build defensively. Costing only 2850 gold, Force of Nature is both affordable and effective for tanks to build. Next up, we have Frozen Heart. This item reduces nearby enemies' attack speed by 15%, providing support for your entire team. Frozen Heart provides armor, mana, and ability haste, making it a great option for ability-reliant tanks looking to stack some armor. The item costs 2850 gold, which is still pretty cheap. Finally, we have Winged Moonplate. This item is a mid-tier item built from Ruby Crystal. It provides health and 5% movement speed, building into Dim Man's Plate and Force of Nature. Since the item has a passive, tanks should have a better time scaling in Wild Rift. Notice that all the new items brought in were tank items, so for all you tank mains out there, this is great news. Defensive tanky options in the game have been very weak, and these new items should bring some much needed balance to the game. Next up, we have item balance changes, and brace yourself, again, there's a lot. To start off, Sapphire Crystal is getting a huge rework, now providing mana charge stacks that build into Tear of the Goddess and 5 ability haste. To compensate for this massive buff, the base mana provided from the item has decreased. Tear of the Goddess now provides 10 ability haste, but instead it grants 7 mana per charge rather than 8. Stacks from Sapphire Crystal carry onto Tear of the Goddess. This should allow champions to utilize Tear to scale more efficiently into the game. Winter's Approach is being massively changed as well. They now provide health, mana, and ability haste while no longer providing armor. Since the item is built from Tear of the Goddess, the item grants the same Sapphire Crystal mana charge and 10 ability haste. In addition, the passive Awe gives ability haste equal to 1% maximum mana. Now that one is a massive buff, especially considering the item only costs 2600 gold. Fimbulwinter is now Winter's Approach's evolved form, capping at 1200 bonus mana. This item now grants a new passive, Frozen Colossus. Immobilizing a champion consumes mana while granting a shield for 3 seconds that absorbs 150 plus 5% current max mana for every nearby enemy champion. This passive has a 15-second cooldown. Mana Mutant Muramana gain 10 ability haste thanks to these tier changes as well. She no longer requires Sapphire Crystal to be built, therefore it doesn't grant bonus mana. It also decreased from 1100 gold to 900. Similarly, Lichbane bonus mana was removed, and the same 200 gold taken out of its total cost, bringing it down to 2950. Trinity Force mana was also removed, and 200 taken from its cost accordingly. Oh, and same thing with Iceborne. Dead Man's Plate now has a 5% movement speed buff in light of Winged Moonplate's introduction to Wild Rift. The total cost remains unchanged. Thornmail's passive was adjusted, now applying Grievous Wounds when immobilizing the enemy, and it will still reflect auto attack damage. The change should help Thornmail users be more active in regards to utilizing this item. Sunfire Aegis is the new form of Sunfire Cape. It no longer provides armor, but grants 500 health and 15 ability haste at a total cost of 3000 gold. Sunfire deals magic damage, scaling additionally with 1% HP. When damaging champions or epic monsters, the damage stacks. At full stacks, Sunfire burns enemies for 3 seconds, and the item also deals additional damage to minions and monsters. Mortal Reminder's cost was increased, Randuin Omen's armor was buffed from 55 to 50, and Warmog's armor now grants 700 health rather than 650. We know that's a lot to process, but to summarize the changes really quick, Sapphire Crystal and Tear were changed, now stacking a lot earlier on, while new tank items were introduced. These new tank items will definitely be incredible defensive options, providing really high stacks. The item updates pretty much buffed all tank items and also nerfed Mortal Reminder. Tank meta may very well be on its way, so make sure you're paying attention. Attack speed is also being adjusted, since champions that relied on kiting could do so a little too reliably. Attack speed's effect ratio on attack's wind-up time is decreased to 50% from 100%, directly affecting the formula for wind-up time. Essentially, now champions stacking attack speed will experience more delay before they can auto-attack. Marksmen will be most heavily impacted by these changes. Ghost is being revamped, resetting off of kills and assists. On takedown, the buff's duration is increased by 6 seconds, with the initial duration now lasting 8. Burst top speed has been reduced while burst duration has increased. Ignite has been overperforming lately, not requiring much thought or skill behind the summoner spell, so its cast range has been decreased to 5.5. Next up, we have some very noteworthy events. The America's long-awaited day has finally arrived. With patch 2.2, North and South America servers are online. Hope all of you new viewers from the Americas enjoy Wild Rift and also can become part of our community by joining our Wild Rift Discord. We got a lot of cool folks in there that you'll get along with, like our mod Dez, who does all the art for the emotes in the server, and also Cribble, who I make fun of for his brown play all the time. You'll have a blast. So we know that summoners all around the world have been suffering from the lack of role selection. Patch 2.2 will bring and test what Riot is calling positional preference. This is essentially role selection, but unfortunately it won't be available in the Americas upon release. This is very exciting news though, showing that Riot developers are listening to the community. When getting into a match, order your preferred positions in regards to lane from most to least preferred. The matchmaking system will then prioritize giving you your top priority the majority of the time. When players enter Champion Select, they will also be given a role position. In addition to handing out roles, specific champions typically played for each lane will be highlighted to help streamline the champion selection process. Riot stated the positional preference queue will be enabled for 2 weeks. It can be found in the Ranked tab, but there's a few key things to note here. Games in this queue will not impact ranked progression and will not aid in event progress. Positional preference games should be treated as a completely separate mode. The only progress from this queue that you will gain is an event called Positional Lab, which will grant extra blue motes for each day you play. This is very much a test to see if positional preferences are in a good enough state to be released for ranked. So go help Riot by providing input to help perfect this system. In addition to testing positional preferences, Wild Rift announced the debut of All Random All Mid, also known as ARAM. For those of you who don't know what an all random all mid is, you're given a random champion to play and a small number of rerolls if you're not happy with your pick. ARAM then forces all players to play in a single lane, with champions leveling up much faster, making for a very fast-paced game filled with teamfights. But be warned, once you leave the base, you can't buy items unless you die. Sadly, this will be available April 5th and will only be a 3-day test to see if everything is working as planned. If things go well, ARAM may well be available to play for over a month. Glorious Jinx has also been announced for the Ranked Season 2 reward upon reaching Gold. For players in the Americas, Season 2 will begin March 29th as soon as Patch 2.2 hits. Patch 2.2 also debuts the Wild Pass, which is pretty much Wild Premium. Wild Pass grants rewards, and once you reach level 50, you can acquire the exclusive skin, Hexplorer Jax. This will be available as soon as the Season 2 starts and costs 590 Wild Cores. Wild Pass Elite, which is pretty much the Wild Rift Premium Plus, grants more missions and speeds up progress. This one costs 990 Wild Cores. Wild Rift Journey is an event that starts once you complete Wild Rift Academy. Finishing this event will prepare players for games ahead. Wild Welcomes is an exclusive event for North and South America. This event starts March 29th and ends April 26th. These rewards from the event can be unlocked by simply playing the game and reaching specific levels, so be sure to check out the Wild Rift official page for more details. Wild Rift is also implementing 3 new pings: Enemy Has Vision Here, Group, and Enemy Missing. These help communicate with your team to help adjust to ever-changing circumstances on Wild Rift. Players will also begin receiving emails notifying them when a player they reported has been penalized for in-game behavior. This should allow summoners to see when the reports have been effective, allowing for the report system to feel more impactful. And trust me, if you haven't gotten any of these reports on League PC, it's one of the most satisfying things you'll ever feel. 40, 90, and 120 FPS are now new options for the game. These should allow for more specific catering to devices, optimizing gameplay and visuals. 120 FPS is only in the beta though, and accessible on specific device models. Use with caution since it comes with the risk of overheating. New language supports have also been added, as Brazilian, Portuguese, American Spanish, and Arabic are now available on Wild Rift. And now for the skins, I got a couple voice lines that bot is making me say. The cute Corky is making his way. Debonair Galio lands on the Rift. Draven? Fuzz Fizz is furry. Infernal Galio burns with a fiery fury. Surprise Party Amumu is present on Wild Rift. Glorious Jinx is the Season 2 reward. Hexplorer Jax is the exclusive skin for the Wild Rift Pass. Academy Ari is a diligent student. Blitzcrank is here. And Marauder Olaf marches onto Wild Rift. Well, we know that was a lot, but we hope you're as excited as we are for the game's future, especially all of you in the Americas. For all the content related to Wild Rift in the future, be sure to like the video and sub to the channel so that you never miss out. Until next time, as always, best of luck on the Wild Rift, and I'll see you next time.